So my story began around when I was 7 years old, and I was diagnosed with absent seizures. And I didn't really understand that whole concept then, but I just stared off into space, and that's what I knew, and I had to take medication for it for 7 years. And at 14, I was told I was free of my seizures, and I was well managed on medication, so I kind of almost forgot that I had absent seizures. So when I was told I was free of my seizures, I was like, okay, that's great. I get to move on with my life. And I was good my freshman year of high school. And then going into my sophomore year, I was cleared until December. So near the end of my semester, we were studying for exams, and I got really stressed out. The next morning, when I was supposed to be taking an exam, I had an atonic seizure in the bathroom, and I had no idea that something was going to happen that morning. Some people have a feeling that they're going to have a seizure. I had no idea that was going to happen. I just woke up on the floor. My dad was trying to drag me out of the bathroom. I was completely out of it. And then I ended up in the ER, and they told me I had an atonic seizure. I was like, I have no idea what that is. I went to my neurologist, and he told me, well, you have a chance of your grand mal's coming back. That can always happen. You start out with absence, they could go away, or they just progressively get worse. And I was like, okay, no, that's not good. Around March, I had another seizure, but that turned into a grand mal. I barely knew anything about them. I just knew you were shaking on the ground. And to experience something like that, that's so scary. You feel so exhausted after it, and it was difficult. And then I kept experiencing one almost every month or every couple months. They were very inconsistent, so I couldn't plan it, and I especially didn't know my triggers for it. So it's always good to learn your triggers on how you're having seizures. Eventually, I learned that my triggers were stress and sleep deprivation. But this went on for about a year or so. We went to a bunch of different neurologists because the main one I was going to transferred to a different location, so I couldn't go to him, so he recommended us to someone else. We went to Vanderbilt up in Nashville because I was living around that area. And he was great, but like any doctor, they're just going to recommend medicine for you and just up your dose if you're having an issue. So that's what I did, and I was becoming decently controlled on medicine, but it still didn't help all the way. I had a seizure in the shower at one point. I had 4 seizures in one day when they did an EEG on me, and they took me off my medicine for a day, and then I went back on it. But since my body was just unregulated with it, I had to go back to the ER, and they had to put me on another medicine to get me back in line. But that's so stressful, not being 6 months seizure free when you're 15 years old and you want to be independent and you want to start driving and stuff like that. I got a car near that time because I turned 16 too, and then I got a car around May of that time. I couldn't even drive it because I hadn't been 6 months seizure free. So that was really unfortunate for me. So you lose a lot of your independence, I feel like, when you're having seizures. You're told you can't do anything. And everyone I knew was getting their license by that time, and I'm still being driven around by my parents. So I was thinking that was kind of embarrassing. I felt like a child, a little 12-year-old that couldn't handle themselves. Especially after my shower incident, my parents had to sit outside the bathroom because they didn't want me falling in the shower again. So it was really hard just having unpredicted seizures nonstop. And I didn't learn my triggers until a year later. I was also getting another array of just mental health disorders, because connecting with seizures, that you just get a whole load of other issues. So I was dealing with depression, I had an eating disorder, anxiety, dysautonomia, basically. That developed over time in starting my junior year, but a lot of these issues started my sophomore year, right as I was dealing with my grand mal seizures. So during this period, I'd say I was pretty hopeless. I was sad. I had a lot of just very numb, depressing thoughts. It was a really hard time for me. I felt like I had no potential of getting better. I was not in control of my body. I didn't know what to do. I didn't feel normal. I felt like weird because, you know, who wants to be shaking on the ground uncontrollably? And that could happen anytime. I had no idea when it could happen, and I didn't want it to happen in front of people I knew or at school. I didn't want to get bullied for it. So I never spoke up about it unless I needed to tell someone or like my friends, because you don't know what to do with yourself. And it was even harder because I didn't know anyone that could relate to me. My mom heard Levi's story, which I'm sure many people have heard about. She was telling me about chiropractic treatment and how it benefited Levi and how maybe it could help my epilepsy and I might just not have to rely strictly on medicine and maybe my seizures could get controlled. I was welcomed with so much love and support and happy vibes, and I was also confused how everyone was so happy because I was going through a lot at that time. I'm like, how is everyone so cheerful right now? But I learned to love that energy after doing the Perfect Storm intensive for 2 weeks. And during that period, I started feeling myself come back to life a little bit more. In the beginning, my skin was like yellow. I was sad. I didn't want to do anything. And so going there and spending time with all these amazing people, I feel like they really like changed my life. And that's not to be cheesy. Like, they really have benefited me in so many ways that I can't even describe, because now I'm coming up on 2 years seizure free. And I didn't think 2 years ago for me, like, oh, this chiropractic treatment that focuses on only certain parts of your body at certain times is going to heal me, basically. And it targets like other aspects of your life. Like, it's gonna help me with my depression. It's gonna help me with my eating disorder. It's gonna help me with my anxiety. I got diagnosed with POTS recently and ADD, and so they're willing to help me through that. And now my depression is gone, my eating disorder is gone. I still deal with some struggles like anxiety and POTS. It's really just like having a leap of faith and going for it. And I feel like this opportunity has really just changed my outlook on a lot of things. It was a great experience, and I'm so happy that I found PWC, because I have no idea what I would be doing right now and if I would even be seizure free in this state right now, because I can do so many things. I can stay up later. I don't have a super strict bedtime anymore. I can shower when I want, and I'm gonna be driving soon. I missed out like a period of my driving time, like 2 years when everyone else was. So now I'm like getting back to it, and I'll be living in an apartment for college, and I was able to experience dorm life my freshman year of college. So I'm able to sort of get my independence back, and that's something I didn't have 2 years ago, you know, all that period of time when I was having seizures, because your parents get so scared about what's gonna happen. You know, they have that stress response that they always have to be watching you. I would say for people that are like struggling with seizures or any other issues, or parents that are curious on what else can my child get into that's just not medicine, and wanting to do more for their kid, or stressed out because they're just hopeless, I would say definitely look into neurological chiropractic care, because even though it might sound silly at first, it really is beneficial. I think like that might be one of the best routes you can take. And that's not saying just stop the medicine you're taking right now. It's, you can do chiropractic care along with the medicine you're taking, and you can see even better results, or you can even get off your medicine and be completely fine there too. So there's a lot of potential you have when starting this care, and see good results, even with just the first adjustment. Like, you start seeing results right away, and then just continuing on with that care, it just amplifies over time. So I would say to anyone, just like have hope and give it a shot, even though you might be hesitant about it. You just gotta go for it. Walking into PWC and any healing environment that's PX doctor related, I feel like they all have that caring environment compared to any doctor office that you would go to. I felt like I was not educated enough on my issue. I just knew I had seizures. I knew that mine eventually were stress and sleep induced. I felt like going to PWC or any sort of holistic care, they are analyzing your body, they are welcoming you, they are giving you information that you need. It was just so different than anything else I've experienced, especially when I was so sad and down, and I was numb. To go into that kind of environment where people were telling me I'm gonna experience a miracle and that I need to have hope because this is gonna work. I didn't believe it at first, but now I do because I'm seeing the changes. This was a miracle. You're experiencing so much healing because they're getting to know your body. There's this patient-doctor personal relationship where they get to know your life and understand your struggles, so then they can help you even farther. The PX Chiros, they want to know you on a deeper level so they can help you heal. And I just find that amazing because no one else is going to do that for you. So I would say a word that defines me before getting into all this treatment would be depressed. But now I would say I'm hopeful for the future too, because I think I'm going to experience way more healing. I'm excited that maybe I won't have all these issues anymore and that I'll be able to live a more normal life and that all these issues won't define me as a person. But now I have more to live for and I feel like more of an independent person. So that's why I'm hopeful for the future. I really don't know what I would be like right now if I never found this type of care. So I'm really thankful for it. I'm Francesca Mattis, and we will make it through the storm.